Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing eyeshadow palette reviews, basically. Kind of first impressions. I'm trying to get this out as quickly as I can, so I haven't really tested everything in depth, but I've used all of the shades in all four of these new little mini palettes from Glamonatrix Cosmetics. So the Glamonatrix Holiday Collection has launched. It consists of 4 of these little 6-pan eyeshadow palettes. We have a blue, which is called Elevated Eyes. There is a green, which is Exquisite Eyes. And then we have a red, sort of burgundy-ish palette, which is called Entrancing Eyes. And finally, we have a nude palette, which I am wearing currently on my eyes. This one is called Elegant Eyes. So these little palettes are retailing for 55 Australian dollars each, or you can buy the whole bundle of 4 for 200 Australian dollars. They have little, like, mini pans and not those big giant ones, so you might actually get through them at some stage in your life. Also, the pans are all magnetic, so I'm just going to do this carefully because I don't want to damage anything. You can pop them out and swap them around if you want to do that. You're just going to need a little magnet to get it out. Mine's from Inglot, just in case you're wondering. I'm sure they still sell it. And they just pop straight back in there. Each pan, or each palette, sorry, contains 3 mattes and 3 gorgeous, sparkly, shimmery, amazing goodness. So I did use all of the shades from all of these palettes, and I have demos of them. It's going to go up on the screen as I chat about them. To speed things up, I did do one look on one eye and a different look on the other eye so that I could get through this quickly. I wanted to get it out before Christmas, and to make that happen, I really had to be strategic about how I used the eyeshadows. And you could consider this a bit more of a first impression since I haven't, used all of the shades extensively over multiple days. But I think it's, when it comes to eyeshadows, like, you guys can be the judge. You'll be able to see how they're applying and blending in the demo footage, and you can just judge whether it's like ticking the boxes that you like for eyeshadows. I'm going to talk about these shades and swatch them in the order that I used them. First look I did was with Glistening, which turned out to be an absolutely gorgeous turquoise shade. Oh, and apparently this matte formula is a new formula to Glamonatrix Cosmetics, so I feel like I should just mention that. The next shade that I used in this look was Sublime, which is a multi-chrome. This has like a sort of minty green on my angle, and then a really beautiful like pale lavendery blue with lots of like silver sparkle in it. It's absolutely stunning. Really simple, like 2-color look that I did with these particular shades. The matte shades apply with really nice intensity, but they also blend quite well. I'm always a little bit afraid with these sort of brighter, richer colors that when you put it on the eye, it's just kind of going to stick there and not move. But that wasn't the case with any of these. They were fantastic. The second look that I did consisted of Elated and Striking, which are these two here. So Elated is a really like vibrant, rich sort of light blue, and then Striking is more of that sort of navy dark blue. This one does feel a little bit drier in the pan, but it doesn't affect the way that it applies. I do think I had a little bit of fallout with that shade, but that's, for me, it's not really an issue because I always do my eyes before I do my base when I'm working with eyeshadows like this anyway. The shimmers for this look were Elevated, which is a stunning, like, sparkly silver. This actually appears to have a translucent base, and it's just like rich silver sparkle. But like if you want intense, like, you know, look at the light reflect and the pigmentation of that, then again I would say just apply it damp or use your finger to apply it. But if you want to get more of like a sort of sparkly effect, then just apply it with a dry brush, simple. And then there is Grand. Now this one is much more pigmented and rich. You've got purple and those sort of not quite navy blue, but sort of working into that darker zone. Very pretty, gorgeous palette. If you're into blues, I think like you've got a really good balance of colors here. I love that they do like a light blue, a mid-tone blue, and a dark blue for the mattes, and then they're doing the same sort of thing for the shimmers. You've got some nice like sparkly sort of sheer base that can give you that twinkly look. You've got multi-chromes. They're all very light reflective and they've got that kind of ethereal feel to them. One thing I do want to mention about these eyeshadows is that I do feel the blues stain. So that's something to keep in mind. I would definitely use a primer to sort of help protect the skin from that. I found as I was washing it off, you know, the majority came off, but there was a little tinge on my eye still, especially with the darker shades. However, in saying that, blues, greens, purples, they are not uncommon for staining the skin. So I wasn't overly surprised, nor was I worried. Once I washed that off, I was able to go in and do another look anyway, and it didn't affect the appearance of the next lot of eyeshadows that I applied to my eyes. Speaking of the next lot of eyeshadows that I applied, it was this palette. So this one is Exquisite Eyes, and as you can see, it is green. She's green inspired. This is also a beautiful palette. Magnificent is magnificent. It's absolutely gorgeous. So with the first look, I used Ostentatious, which I feel is a bit like an electric green. It's such a cool color. It pulls both green and yellow tones. Alluring is an absolutely divine, rich, dark, foresty green. This shade I used as a liner, I believe, and it was stunning. I did have some fallout, but again, that's due to the way that I was applying the shade. I had it on like tiny little brushes and I'd sort of built it up. I applied it dry, not wet. So it's not uncommon that if you're applying it in that way, you're probably going to get fallout. It's just, you know, it's just the nature of the application method. And this shade here is Exquisite, which again is that sort of translucenty base. It's like mostly silver, but there's a little bit of like yellowy sort of pale lime greeniness in there, which is stunning. The next look consisted of Magnificent. This was again, it was just one of those shades where once I sort of got to using it, I was just really surprised at how pretty it was. Stunning color. I do feel like the finger swatch is not doing it a lot of justice there. I actually think it applied a lot smoother to the eye, especially, you know, using a brush. Then we have Lovely. You guys are going to be seeing that like greeny gold reflect. But for me, it's like a pale lavender and almost like a, almost holographic rainbowy reflect on the, like the curve where the yellow and green meet the purple. It's so pretty. This one is Superb. I don't really know how to describe this color. It's like a light green with an ever so slight like hint of blue to it. There's also like some translucent sort of neutral tones as it wraps around, and I've got like a, you know, soft sort of, I'd say a muted pale magenta, sort of purpley color. Gorgeous, absolutely stunning. Again, you've got 2 multi-chromes in there. You've got that really beautiful sort of translucent shimmery shade, and then the 3 mattes in the light, medium, and deep. Again, the green does stain a little bit. I feel like you can mostly just see that blue though. My only advice would be just prep your eyes well and you'll be fine. And going in with an eyeshadow over the top wasn't an issue. And I was going in with this palette next. This one is Entrancing Eyes, and as you can probably tell in terms of all of the colorful palettes, this one was my favorite. So I first went in with Gorgeous. This is gorgeous. I love it. I love how they've named the shades because it just makes me feel like I'm complimenting them all regardless, just by saying their names. This is such a me color. It's like a muted dusty rose. If you wanted to do something really light and subtle with this palette, that's going to be your go-to. But then if you want to like jazz it up, you're going to go in with some of the darker shades. So this one here is Enticing. It is a dark, rich plum shade, and it's like, you can build this right up so it starts to look quite dark. And the shimmer that I used in this look was Bewitched. This one is a very pretty shimmery shade. I would say that this, I mean, maybe it's bordering on duochrome. It's got like some brighter pink sparkles in there, but I feel like on the skin, it looks a bit more like a soft peach, but you do get like hints of bright pink sparkle in there, which is very pretty. And for the next look, I used Splendid, which is, I think that's like a pretty stunning magenta shade. It's very vibrant. When you sort of put this on, you get that sort of rich color, but if you blend it out, it brightens up quite a bit, which is not surprising with magenta shades. It's just the composition of like the colors that sort of make it up. So you can totally actually use this as a bit of a one and done matte shade, because if you're blending it out softly in your crease and then building it up on the outer corner, it's going to look like it's transitioning from a lighter shade to a deeper shade anyway. And then we have Entrancing. This is a gorgeous multi-chrome shade. You've got pink, gold, a little bit of silver in there. Very, very light reflective color. It's beautiful. And finally, we have Captivate. This is actually quite dark. It's got a blackened base, and you've got like a vibrant purple shimmer to it. And then on the like reflect, it's sort of like a old gold kind of color. I feel like this palette brings the world of purple and red together really well. I think those colors complement each other beautifully, and I think the palette features those, like when those two shades sort of collide, it features that so beautifully. So this palette I actually tested out today, and when I washed it off to do the final look, I noticed that I didn't have any staining with these shades like I did with the blue and the green. Although even if I did, I don't think it would have mattered because my experience with the blue and the green weren't sort of, you know, it wasn't really a problem. And the final palette is Elegant Eyes, and this is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. Now, when I started doing this look, again, I was going to do one look on one eye, one look on another eye, but I quickly realized that the shade that I was kicking it off with, Ornate, is actually quite light. So I would say that this is kind of like, it's kind of like a bone color. You can see there that it like blends into my skin very, very well. It's almost skin tone for me, but it has almost a hint of like cool tone or like gray to it. So as you build it up, it looks like a shadow in the crease. It's like if you were going to do a no makeup look and you had put primer on your eyes or concealer or even foundation and it was looking a bit flat and you wanted to bring back a little bit of that like natural shadow that you have when you don't have any makeup on because it's like the crease of your eye. That's the kind of shade that you would use because it is very subtle. It doesn't look like makeup, but it's deep enough that when it's sitting like in the crease of your eye, it looks like a shadow. So once I had that on one eye, I was like, all right, we're just going to use this whole palette to do a full look. So then I went in with Graceful and Divine on my crease and outer corner. These were fantastic shades. And then for the shimmer shades, I basically just did a gradient of lightest to deepest. So first up, we've got Elegant, which again is that translucent base, mostly silver, but this one has hints of like, almost like a nudie pink. And I think you can see it better in the pan, although it's probably just going to look silver to you. I'm not sure if you'll be able to really see it there. Do you want to go out? Oh my God, this dog. She needs to know what Dad's doing. Next up we have Cultivated. So again, this is sort of like a translucent base. It's a bit more of that like nudie neutral color and it's super, super pretty. I really enjoy that one. And the last one here is Sumptuous. This is definitely like a darker and richer. You can see that it's a beautiful like brownie sort of, there's a little bit of like fuchsia or, is that fair? Yeah, I'd say so. It's kind of like a pinkish hint to it, like there's a pinkish hue coming through, but on this angle it's a beautiful like old gold shade. I won't lie, it's my favorite palette. I do love me a neutral like boring brown eyeshadow. It's just kind of what I gravitate towards because I find it's just easier these days. But also, is it really that boring? Like these shimmers are stunning. They're very light reflective. You've got the multi-chromes, which adds some, you know, a point of difference. If you're out and about in a social setting, people are going to see different colors on your eyes at different angles, depending on whether they're like standing in front of you or to the side of you, which I think is, you know, it's really cool. It sort of jazzes things up a bit. And if you love a sparkly, you know, shimmery, sort of glistening eye look, like you can achieve it with these. Final thoughts on the Glamonatrix mini palettes. I have to say, I really like them. Now, I always say this when I'm talking about products that are sent to me in PR. I have a bias because I didn't have to pay for these, so I am just judging them on what I think of the formula, the layout, the colors, things like that. So that's always good to keep in mind when watching reviews. I personally love that they are small. Also, this packaging is new to Glamonatrix. It's a PU leather or synthetic or vegan leather, whatever you want to call it. It's got like a cushiony feel to it, which I quite like. On the back, you have the actual palette name with the brand name. Inside, you do have a little mirror, which is great. And the pans are small. Now, I like small eyeshadow pans. I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but coming from a place of, you know, spending probably close to like tens of thousands of dollars on makeup over, you know, the last, what, over 20 years of buying makeup and not being able to use it all, decluttering so much of it. I am much more of a pro small pan person. I think it allows you to have more variety and potentially waste less over the course of your life. So I really love that. For me, it's a massive tick. The fact that you can also take these pans out and swap them around is sensational. I think the packaging is going to allow for some protection during travel. So if you wanted to take one or two of them with you, they're little, but they pack a punch with what they can hold in them. The formula of the eyeshadows is gorgeous. All of the mattes applied beautifully and blended really well. The shimmers are stunning. They give you that versatility of, you know, we're seeing a lot of sort of sheer sparkly twinkly eyeshadows being popular at the moment, and I think this formula really leans into that and sort of allows you to take advantage of that current trend. But also, if you want that sort of richness of color that you can get from a finger swatch, you just apply it with your finger, or apply it with like a silicone applicator, or apply it damp, and you really get that sort of punchy, vibrant shade. I absolutely love that every palette has the perfect balance of shimmers to mattes and then lights to darks. I think it's the best way to like format a palette. It gives you a lot of diversity. If you're feeling like you want to be light and vibrant, you can. If you're feeling like you want to be rich and like dark and moody, you can. If you want to go in between, or you want a blend of everything, you can do that. But also the colors that they're giving you in those like the gradient of the depth of color makes them just as versatile as like a 12 or 18 pan palette, which I love. And something that I just thought of, but I didn't actually test out myself, and I'm a little bit bummed that I didn't now. I suspect that the formula of these, especially the mattes, would facilitate like mixing colors together to sort of change up the color that you want to apply to your eye. For example, Ostentatious, there we go. This one is Magnificent, and I've just blended both of those two together on my finger. Let's see what we get out of that. Yeah, so it looks like and I mean, that's using a finger. Imagine how much better it would be with a brush. So the formula of the mattes it's really nice. Like, they're pigmented, but they blend really well, which it's always kind of one of the things that I'm most scared of when I'm first applying eyeshadows to my eyes, especially if I'm doing it sort of straight off the bat. Like, I haven't done any testing prior to turning on the camera, sitting down and putting it on my eyes. I'm always a bit like, oh God, what am I going to capture in this moment? But I mean, you can see from the footage, I didn't have any troubles with them. They applied beautifully. So I'm going to leave that there, guys, so I can get this edited and out to you in a timely manner. Let me know which palette you think might be your fave, and if you're going to pick any of them up. I want to say a massive thank you to Glaminatrix for sending these palettes out to me. I appreciate it very much, and I'm going to enjoy them. Look at how cute they are. I feel like we need more. I feel like these are gonna look like a little stack of books, and we need more to fill my bookshelf. All right, that's it. I'm going. I just want to say a massive thank you to my channel members and to everyone who is watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.